Hello my friends and welcome back to another video. Today I'm doing my November wrap-up. I barely remember half of these books. I'm gonna be honest, November feels like it was a million years long but also really short, and I can't believe we're in December now. And I remember vaguely reading some of these books, but some of them I do not remember reading. I just can't remember the beginning of November. I swear I don't remember reading some of these. I'm like, oh yeah, I did read that. That's weird. So I have 22 books to talk about, and I'm gonna be honest, a lot of them were not my favorite. I have a lot of duds in this month's wrap up, and it's really unfortunate. I will be starting with the worst books I read this month and work our way up to the best and 5 stars. That way we end on a higher note because it's a little bit more positive, especially when I spend half the video talking about books I don't really care for. So we're gonna start with 2-star, which I actually have a decent amount in the 2-star category. So that tells you anything about how this wrap-up's gonna go. Buckle in, get ready. First up in the 2-star category is Anybody Home by Michael J. Seidlinger. So this was actually sent to me by Clash Books, so thank you for sending this my way. I was actually very excited to read this. It is a home invasion horror novel. I've been wanting to read more home invasion horror. There's not too much out there, so when I saw this was coming out I was really excited, and I definitely knew I wanted to read it, so I am grateful that I was sent a copy to review for you all. Unfortunately, I didn't like this. I've seen a lot of reviews about this and I agree with the majority. So this book has a very interesting way that it's told. It is about home invasion, but it's basically like the home invaders talking, but it's in second person. That's the perspective it's told from. And no one has names, no one has faces, you know, it's just like victim 1, victim 2, victim 3, invader 1, invader 2, invader 3. And it's basically going through the motions of a home invasion. Like the home invaders like basically teaching how to invade a home. And I completely understand where the author was coming from, because that should be terrifying, right? Like that's not knowledge that a normal person should have, is just how to invade a home, like how to commit home invasion, you know what I mean? Like I get it, but it was so boring, like incredibly boring. I did not care. I wasn't like agitated or anxious. I wasn't interested. I thought the characters were all really like annoying to read from. Personally, it was just written in a way that I didn't really click with. I didn't enjoy it, and it should have been so scary. Like it should have been scary, and I like the idea, but I think it dragged on too long. It's too long. I think it's like over 250, but it's too long. It should have been a novella. I think it would have been a more punchy novella instead of just dragging on for over 200 pages. And so I think it loses that horrificness that it's supposed to have because of the way it drags and the way it's written. It's really disappointing for me to say that, because I do think the idea is really great. I think it was a really unique take on a home invasion, but it just didn't really work for me personally. I could not get into it. I was so bored. Like I was over it. I was like, this isn't even, I mean, like, I get the point of what the author was trying to do, but it just wasn't working. So yeah, this unfortunately was a miss. I personally did not enjoy the writing or the style or even where this whole book went. So there is some animal death, like animal cruelty in this book, obviously like sexual assault and like violence and murder and stuff like that, so just be warned. Yeah, if you want to check it out, I don't think it's a bad idea to try it. I think it's very interesting and very unique, and I do think a lot of people will enjoy it. For me, this was a miss. So next up is a book that I read for my Kindle Unlimited reading vlog, and so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but I'll just give you a brief overview of how I felt about it. But this is Sallow Bend by Alan Baxter. The story is about two girls who go missing in the town of Sallow Bend, and right as they go missing, the carnival is coming into town, and so it causes a lot of tension between the carnival workers and the people of the town, and just kind of causes like a conflict between the two groups. And when the two girls are found, there's actually a third girl with them. This girl was not missing with the two girls, but when she shows up with them, everyone in town is just like, oh yes, her, she was also missing. Everyone remembers her, and the main character is the only one who's like, this girl wasn't missing. Who is she? Why does everyone know who she is? What's going on? What's happening? And so then the main character goes on this search for what's going on with this random third girl and blah blah blah. I did not like this. I thought it was extremely boring. For it being a character-driven story, the characters were super flat and super one-note and just super weird. The dialogue between characters was just very odd. Just, I don't know. The writing was weird. This is the first book I've ever read by Alan Baxter. I am aware of this author. I've heard of them before, but I have never read any of their work. So I don't know if that's just their style, and I didn't know that. I don't know, but it just did not work for me. I thought the main character was really bizarre. Like, I don't know. The whole thing was just really weird to me. It has great reviews on Goodreads. It's got like a 4 point something on Goodreads. It did not work for me. I did not enjoy it. I thought it was so just boring and weird. Like, the writing, the characters, the dialogue, the plot wasn't that bad. Like, I feel like it would have been good, but in the end you don't really get a lot of answers, and it's just kind of like, this is the end, da, da, da. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool, alright. So to me it wasn't worth it making it through to the end, because it's not like anything was explained. So I wish I had DNF'd it, but I didn't for the reading vlog. So yeah, I was not a big fan of this book. Next up, we have another one of the Kindle Unlimited books I read for that reading vlog. It is The Favorite Child by Katherine Grant. This is a psychological thriller, and I have read another book by this author before, and I also did not enjoy it. This book is about Annie. She is the main character, and she is pregnant, and she's on this vacation with her husband and her whole family. They do this every year. They gather together and just kind of like spend quality time together, even though they all have like a weird relationship. The family's very odd. The dynamic's very odd. And during the vacation, Annie's sister goes missing, and when she goes missing, no one in the family cares. Annie is the only one that cares, and she's like, what happened to my sister? Why isn't anyone caring? Da 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 da. No one's paying attention. They're writing it off. They're like, oh, she does this all the time. Don't worry, blah, blah, blah. So Annie goes on a search and a hunt for her sister and kind of uncovers a lot of secrets within that family. This book was so freaking annoying. If you watched my reading vlog, I had a whole rant about it. I hated this book. It was just so infuriating. It plays on the crazy trope, which is one of my least favorite tropes in the psychological thriller horror realm. I just hate it so much. I hate when other characters make the main character look crazy and they're just like, oh, you're just imagining it. This is in your head. I don't like that trope. It's very infuriating to me. It frustrates me. It makes me very angry. It's kind of why I stay away from psychological thrillers and horror, just because it's a very used trope a lot of the time and I just can't stand it. I was also getting like physically mad. Like my fight or flight was kicking in because the main character couldn't fight. Like, she was just in certain situations where she wasn't able to fight back. I could just feel my body tensing up like for fight or flight. Like, I could feel myself being like, oh, I need to fight. Like, this is me. It's like happening to me, you know? I was getting very worked up while reading this book, and it was just not a fun experience. It was not a good experience. I did not enjoy it. The ending was very satisfying and very good, and I did like the ending, but it could not make up for the fact that the whole book was so painful for me to read. Like, I was just like, it was like pulling teeth. I just didn't want to read this book. It was so infuriating. I did not enjoy it, and I will not be reading anything else from this author because 2 books, they were both like 2 stars, so I'm gonna stay away from now on. The next and the last book in the 2-star category is probably going to be an unpopular opinion. I know a lot of people love this book, but it did not work for me. So it is Just Like Mother by Anne Heltzel. So this is a new release. It was one of my anticipated releases of 2022, and I finally read it. And this just didn't work for me. This book is about Maeve and her cousin Andrea. They grew up in a cult when they were younger, and they got separated after some things happened with that cult. And now years later as adults, they have reconnected and they are super happy, like they've got their best friend back, and as they're integrating each other into their lives, they start getting reacquainted, they start getting to know each other again. And Andrea has a very interesting job. It deals with motherhood and fertility, and yeah, I'm gonna just leave it at that, I guess. I guess that's the plot I'm gonna give you. To me personally, now just me personally, based on the formula that this book follows, this is not a horror book in my opinion. This is more of a thriller, just because I personally think it follows a thriller format much better than a horror format. But I do know a lot of people would probably disagree with that. I know some people would probably consider this horror. I don't. This is extremely predictable, and I know a lot of people have said that. I know a lot of people have said that this is an extremely predictable plot. I didn't quite know how predictable they meant. It just really doesn't do anything new or different. It really just kind of follows a very familiar path that I've seen many times. And again, that's why I think it's more of a thriller in my opinion. It just follows a very predictable format and a predictable formula like thrillers typically do. My other issue with this is it talks a lot about motherhood and having babies and fertility, and the main character is child-free. She does not want kids, she does not want to have children, and that is a big part of the book, is her wanting to not have children, which is something I can relate to because I do not want kids. However, the message of that gets very lost throughout the book, and I really wanted a main character that was going to kind of be a really great like child-free character, you know, that kind of just like embodied what it's like to not have kids as being a woman, and like how people treat you a little bit, you know, different, and how they look at you a little bit weird, and it's just a whole thing. So I really wanted a character to represent being child-free, and yeah, the ending, the whole ending ruined everything for me. The ending was horrific. It was so stupid. I hated it. And for me, this just lost everything that I was hoping it was going to be and to do. And I just feel like the original message of the story just got tossed to the wayside, and it did not do what I wanted it to do. And I just did not like this. I really did not like it. I feel like I'm in the minority with this one because I've seen a lot of popular, like, positive opinions about this, but yeah, I did not like this one. So, moving on up, we're going to the 3-star category now, and the first book up is Road of Bones by Christopher Golden. So, we know I love a wintry, snowy, isolated horror thriller kind of vibe, and I was really excited for this one. Unfortunately, I just feel like it's a very middle of the road book. It didn't really do anything like super exciting for me. I wanted it to be different. It's about these 2 guys who are going to make a documentary about the Road of Bones in Russia and like the history of it, and just kind of like drive it while documenting their, you know, their journey. I love the idea of this. However, it does turn into more of a folk horror or a folk thriller, and I was not expecting that. And for me, it just didn't really work. I just thought it was a little like, what? It just kind of felt like it came out of nowhere, and I wasn't really expecting it. And I didn't really care for the direction it went. It just wasn't something that I personally like. Folk horror or folk thrillers are just very they're very hit or miss for me, and this one just kind of fell in the middle. I didn't hate it, I didn't love it, I just thought it was like a fine book. I didn't dislike it too much, but I didn't love it, you know? Yeah, I don't know, it just wasn't anything like spectacular, and the ending I just felt like was pretty obvious, so yeah, it was fine. You know, it did its job. I read a wintry, isolated, snowy book, and it fit the bill. It did its job. Next up is another anticipated release that I was very disappointed by, and that is The Witch in the Well by Camilla Bruce. This book isn't bad. I'm gonna start it with that. Like, this book is not bad, however, it is not what it says it is. This book is about two women who used to be friends in their childhood, and they grew apart, and now as adults they are both interested in this urban legend, this tale of this woman who was supposed to be a witch, and they are both writing books about her and are trying to uncover what really happened with this woman and if she was really a witch, and they both just like are mad at each other for doing the same thing, I guess. This is just a drama. Like, this is just a fight between these two women. Like, honestly, this whole book is just about them being mad at each other and them trying to get back at each other and them trying to like win, you know, like just trying to fight to win for the right to write this book about this woman. Like, that's literally all that it is. It's just the drama between like how they used to be friends, what happened between them, what they're doing now, why they're writing their books, blah 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 blah. Like, it's just boring. Like, honestly, like, it has very little to do with a witch. Like, I thought this was gonna be a witchy fun tale. It does have to do with a witch and like witchcraft and stuff. Like, it is there, that element's there, but it's just on the back burner. It's just not a main part of the plot. The main plot is these two women just like holding a grudge and like being mad, and then the way it's told is through the one character's journal and the other character writing an online like blog. Yeah, it just, I don't know, I didn't really care for it. I thought it was fine, I thought it was okay, but definitely mismarketed and not what I expected it to be. It wasn't awful, I'm just disappointed because I wanted a fun witchy tale and I didn't get that. The last book in the 3-star category is another anticipated release. Another disappointment, and that is Mother Thing by Ainsley Hogarth. I read this in a reading vlog. I have the reading vlogs I did in November linked down below in case you want to check them out, but I did read this in a reading vlog, and this was such a disappointment. This had such high reviews and ratings. Like, I've heard nothing but good things about this book. This book is about Ralph and Abby who move in with Ralph's mother, Laura, and Abby wants to have a great relationship with Laura. She wants to treat her as a mother, but Laura doesn't like Abby, and they have a very like not great relationship, and then Laura ends up committing suicide, and then Laura kind of pops back into their life and is haunting them. So from that plot description that is on the back of the book, you would expect that the first half of the book is probably like Abby and Laura having like a relationship issue and like you getting to see a glimpse of that. Absolutely not. This book immediately starts with Laura committing suicide. So I was really upset about that because I wanted to see the dynamic between Abby and Laura. I wanted that to be part of the book, and it's just not. And it kind of felt like it should have been part of the book because they really talk about that in the plot description, so I was expecting that. If you are like me and you were expecting a haunting book, a book about Ralph's mother coming back to haunt them, that's not really what this is. That's not what this is at all. It's not like a haunting, it's not like ghost-like, it's not like that. It's really not. The best way I can describe this is it's very similar to Ottessa Moshfegh's writing. It's very stream of consciousness. It's a little all over the place. Personally, I think it's all over the place. I didn't really get it. I think it's just very odd. It reminds me a lot of Eileen by Ottessa Moshfegh. It didn't really deliver what I thought it was going to deliver or what it said it was going to deliver. I would be wary, manage your expectations if you are like me and you went into this book with a haunting in mind, like a haunted story. That's not what this is. It's really not. Also, I didn't find this funny. It's supposed to be a dark comedy, and I didn't think it was funny. I don't know, maybe it's just because it's not my humor. I don't know, but I didn't really get it. I didn't get that it was funny. It was just a miss for me. I was really disappointed. I thought it was just fine. Nothing exciting or spectacular or amazing. So another disappointment that I was very, very sad about. Next up is the 3.5 star category, and first up we have Black Paradox by Junji Ito. So this is not my favorite by him. This was just okay. I liked some things, I didn't like others. This is more on the sci-fi, like science fiction realm. So if you're into that, I think you would really like this. I'm not a big science fiction person. The story is about 4 people who meet online on this like online community, and they want to commit suicide. So they're gonna like meet up to kill themselves. And their plans get derailed by other things. I can't go into it because that's spoilery, but their plans do get derailed. It's just a little bizarre. It's a little weird, just like all of Junji Ito's other work. I mean, his stuff is very odd, it's very bizarre, it's very weird. That's just kind of what he writes. But again, since this is more science fiction, it just didn't really connect with me as much. It just wasn't my favorite. I feel like this falls on to the side of like Remina for me. It was fine. Or like Censor, those two, I liked them, but they were just like, you know, not my favorite. They don't rival like Uzumaki or anything like that, but it was fun. I always enjoy reading Junji Ito's work, and it was still a good time, just not my favorite. Another Kindle Unlimited read, this was Intercepts by TJ Payne, and funny enough, this is also science fiction. I didn't realize that I read 2 science fictions in 1 month, but I did. And this is about the main character, Joe. He works at this facility. He's kind of in charge of it. And this facility performs experiments. And then one day his work follows him home. That's the easiest way I can describe it. That's the best way I can describe it. This was fine. I enjoyed it. It's not as science fiction as I thought it was gonna be. I think in my reading vlog I compared it to Stranger Things. So if you've seen Stranger Things, you know the experimentation stuff I'm talking about. If you like and enjoy that kind of thing, I think you would enjoy this book. It's along the same lines. It's very similar experimentation and like work that's being done. It's very, very similar to that. So if you enjoy that kind of science fiction, I think you might enjoy this. It was a very easy read, very fast. It was enjoyable to the extent that I don't really like science fiction, but I still was able to like read it and enjoy it to some extent. I found it pretty predictable. The ending I really saw coming. I thought that was pretty obvious. I thought that's what the whole book was getting at from the beginning, so I just kind of felt like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It just wasn't that shocking to me. I just thought it was pretty obvious. You know, it was a fun book. It was fine. It wasn't the worst book I've ever read. It was a good time. Not really for me personally, because again, I'm not someone that enjoys a lot of science fiction in like my horror. It's just not the stuff I like. I usually just don't gravitate towards science fiction, but yeah, it was enjoyable and I did have fun while reading it. It wasn't as bad as the other 2 books I read on Kindle Unlimited, so I did have fun with it. Next up is Jackal by Aaron E. Adams. So I don't know if this is actually a 3.5. I felt like I wanted to give it 4, but comparing it like I did in my reading vlog, I just don't know if it's a 4. I did really enjoy this book. I did like a lot of it. I just do think there were some things that I didn't love as much as I wanted to. But basically, this is about the main character, Liz. She is going back to her hometown to go to her best friend's wedding, and she is not very excited to go back to her hometown. It's predominantly white, and she doesn't have very fond memories of her hometown. But the night of the wedding, her best friend's daughter goes missing, and this is very similar to things that have happened in the past, and it causes Liz to start investigating and trying to find out what's going on and try to save her best friend's daughter. So this has supernatural elements in it. I think it could have been done a little bit better. I think the ending is a little bit confusing. It's a little bit gray. It's not very concrete. I think that it doesn't tie in the supernatural elements very well with like everything else. I feel like there was a lot of unanswered questions and it could have been like put together a little bit better. I did really love what this book was saying about black girls that go missing and just how the cases are treated very, very differently from when a little white girl goes missing. And I do think that the commentary, it was very well done, and I think there was a lot of good things that this book had to say. I just wish it had been tied together a little bit better, but I did enjoy it. Like, this was a fun book. Like, it was a good thriller. It had a lot of potential to be really, really great, and for a debut I think it is really fun and really good. I just wanted a little bit more from everything, I think, but I did have fun with it and I did like it, and I do think a lot of people are going to enjoy it. I think the ending will be very polarizing in terms of you're either gonna really love it or you're gonna really, really hate it. So I didn't really, really hate it, but I definitely didn't like it. So just be mindful of that. But I did enjoy this book and I thought it was fun. Speaking of books I really don't know how I felt about, We Spread by Ian Reid. I also read this in my reading vlog. I still don't know how I feel about this one. I'm giving it 3.5 because I just don't think it deserves a 4 from me. I just don't think I can give it a 4. I don't know. I'm still up in the air about this book. This book is about the main character, Penny. She is an elderly woman and she gets put into a long-term care facility. And when she gets to this long-term care facility, things start getting a little bit weird, a little bit odd, and you'd go on this journey with Penny to try and uncover if there are really weird things happening at this place or if it's something else. This was a very easy read. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I did enjoy my time reading it. Like, I don't think it was a bad book. It was easy to read. It was very fast. I very quickly read it. Like, I mean, it was an easy read. However, I know a lot of people have been obsessed with this book. Like, everyone has been raving about it, and I know a lot of people have said it's very emotional and it's very like gut punching. This didn't affect me. I don't know. I didn't really connect with it. I thought it was fine. Like, I understood what Ian Reid was trying to do. The things that he was saying, I understood very perfectly what he was trying to do and convey through this book, but it just didn't really work for me. It was fine. I mean, like, it was enjoyable. Like, I liked it, but I didn't really like it that much. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, and I just can't figure out how I feel. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I thought it was good. I think a lot of people are gonna love it, but to me, I'm thinking of Ending Things is far superior to this one. So I just don't know I just don't know where this goes for me. I can't figure it out. Next up is the 4-star category, and first up we have Happiness Volumes 6 through 10 by Shuzo Oshimi. I finished the Happiness series, and I'm gonna set the rest down because they are very heavy. But this is volume 6. I read 1 through 5 in October, I believe. So I actually did finish the series in November, and I really, really enjoyed this. I personally don't think it's better than The Flowers of Evil or Blood on the Tracks, but I did really enjoy this. For a vampire manga that I didn't think I was gonna love, I really, really enjoyed it. And I have to say, 6 through 10 really takes a different turn. It's still a vampire story. Some things happen that kind of takes it from one direction to another direction, and it was very wild. And I have to say that I much prefer volumes 6 through 10 versus 1 through 5. Like, I still enjoyed 1 through 5, but I really like the turn that 6 through 10 takes and the direction it goes, and how, I don't know, it's just very different. I didn't expect it, and I really liked it. Overall, I would say the series as a whole gets a 4-star rating because I really did enjoy it. I don't think it's my favorite Shuzo Oshimi, but I did really enjoy my time with it, and I did like how it overall came together. I do think the ending is a little vague. I would have liked a little bit more, but I'm being picky, so. But I did really enjoy this series and I'm happy that I read it. Next up is The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. I read this for Sav, or Riveting Reads, here on YouTube's book club, the Lights Out book club. I was the co-host for October, but we ended up doing the live show in November because October was super hectic. I am sad to say that it is not a 5-star book. I really thought this was going to be 5 stars. I really did. But it just didn't hit it for me. It didn't hit that 5-star mark. This is a retelling of Carrie, if you did not know. The biggest issues I had with this is just, I wanted more of Maddie, the main character. I don't know, we didn't really get a lot of Maddie, and it was kind of unfortunate because we do get a mix of POVs, and I just really wanted more Maddie. I didn't really care about anyone else. I just wanted Maddie. Like, I just wanted her. I wanted to follow her. I wanted to follow what was going on with her. I wanted to follow her discovering things about herself, you know, like I just really wanted more Maddie and just all Maddie. I think my other thing is, and while Tiffany D. Jackson did a great job with this book, and I do really enjoy it and I think it's great, I do wish it wasn't super duper close to the Carrie story that we all know. I wish it had been just like a little bit more of a twisty, you know, take. And I do love how Tiffany D. Jackson did it, and I do think it's very well done. But as someone who is such a big Carrie fan, like I've seen the movie and read the book, and I'm a big fan of the movie. Carrie is one of my favorite movie adaptations. Comparing it to White Smoke, which is my favorite still, I expected a little bit more, I think, and just like, I don't know, something a little bit different. I just wanted a little bit different, a little bit twist, a little bit of twist. I'm sorry I did, but I mean, it was still good. I really enjoyed it. It was great. Tiffany D. Jackson knows how to write. She's phenomenal. She's so talented. She's one of my favorite authors of all time. She's incredible. I just wanted her to like do something crazy, I think. I don't know. And there's also a romance in here, which I could have gone either way with. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I didn't hate it, which is a lot because, you know, I love romance and horror, but it just wasn't my favorite. I could have gone either way with it, but it was still really great. Tiffany D. Jackson knows how to write, but it just wasn't my favorite by her. Okay, next up we have another one of the Kindle Unlimited books I read, and that is The Endless and Other Stories by Brandon Baker. Brandon is a wonderful horror book talker. If you don't know, he's amazing. He's really great. He's so kind, so nice, and I was really excited I got the chance to read his collection of short stories. I was going to buy it anyways, so when I picked it for the Kindle Unlimited reading vlog, I was just over the moon that I got to read it. I was just very excited, and I have to say it was great. The stories were really fun. They're very different from each other, but you can tell that Brandon wrote them. Like, they don't feel too different from each other, that it feels very disconnected and jarring and like disjointed. They flow very nicely together, even though they're very different like subgenres. And they were actually so funny too. There's one about a cat, and I don't want to go too much into it because it was just really funny. It was really funny, and I really enjoyed how easy the humor was. Like, it felt very natural. It didn't feel very forced. It didn't feel like he was trying really hard to be funny. It was just funny, which is something that I really look for in a horror comedy, or like when you mesh the two together, I really look for something that comes really naturally, and I feel like the humor in his stories did come very naturally, and I enjoyed every story. One did go over my head a little bit. I was like, I think I'm a little dumb, but I still enjoyed it even though I felt confused. But I think a lot of people will enjoy this short story collection. It's very short, it's like 90 pages, so very quick, very easy, and I really look forward to reading more from Brandon. I want to see him put more out there. I'm very excited to have him writing in the horror space, and I just really enjoyed his collection. Next up we have White Horse by Erica T. Worth. This was the November book of the month that I chose, and I just read this in a reading vlog. This book is about Carrie. She is an urban native, and one day her cousin Debbie gives her this bracelet that used to belong to Carrie's mom, and when Carrie touches this bracelet, she starts seeing her mother's ghost. She starts seeing her pop up, but along with her mother's ghost, she starts encountering this entity, and it's a very evil entity. It's not nice. It does not have good intentions. This bracelet kind of pushes Carrie to start looking for answers about her mother's disappearance and what really happened. I think a lot of people are going to like Carrie. She wears all black. She likes heavy metal. She's a horror lover. She's big into Stephen King. There are a lot of Stephen King references in this book, a lot of The Shining references, which I know a lot of people will love. This was just a lot of fun. It was a very easy horror novel. I feel like this will be a very good starting point for a lot of people. It wasn't too scary, but it had good atmosphere and there were a lot of good creepy moments. I personally didn't find this one scary, but I don't think that means much because I don't find a lot of things scary. Honestly, I'm very hardened now over the years. It's a little bit predictable. I'm not gonna lie. I think the story is a little bit predictable, but I think it's just a very easy and fun and just like good story. Like the plot is just it's just an easy plot. It's just an easy read. It's not going to take you too much effort, too much thought. It's just going to be a nice sit down book and you're going to have fun with it. That's how I felt. That's what I did. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I think this was a really good story, and I do think a lot of people are going to enjoy this one. The last book in the 4-star category is Sadako Chan and Sadako Chan, which is a manga. So this follows Sadako from The Ring. If you've seen The Ring or Ringu, you know who I am talking about. And this was very, very, very cute. I would tell you who the story and art is by, but I tried to look up the mangaka's name and I don't know how to pronounce it. And I do not want to get yelled at by you all in the comments for pronouncing it incorrectly, so I'm not going to attempt it. So I'm very sorry, but I cannot find out how to pronounce it correctly. But it's very, very cute. This is so cute. It made me laugh so hard. It is just adorable. You get to see Sadako in a different light, a very cute light, a very sweet light, and it was just a lot of fun. The mangaka in the back says that they decided to write this because they really, really like Sadako. They don't know how to do a horror manga, so they turned it into more of a cute manga, and it was so adorable. It's very, very cute. I had a lot of fun with this one. I will say that I wanted more from it. I'm hoping that this mangaka is attempting to come out with more later because this story was so cute. I would love to continue this. Like, I would love to have more volumes. I would love to see this, like, just continue. It was so much fun and just super lighthearted and just very cute. So I think if you want, like, an easy little manga read and you like Sadako a lot, I think this would be a lot of fun for you. Our next category is the 4.5-star category, and I have an anticipated release in here. I know, everybody, an anticipated release above a 4-star, almost a 5-star. It is Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison. Rachel Harrison, I know she's already one of my favorite authors. I established that after Cackle, but I really, really, really loved this book. Almost gave it 5 stars, but I'll tell you why I didn't. This is about the main character Rory, who is moving back to her hometown to help her sister Scarlett out. Her sister is pregnant. The baby daddy is not around right now, so Rory comes home to help her sister get ready for the baby. But on the first night back, as she is coming home from running into a former friend who also had romantic interests in her, she hits a animal, and when she gets out of her car, she gets attacked. Rory survives the attack. However, things are a little bit different. She's got some interesting cravings. She's acting a little bit different, a little bit odd. So I think you know this is a werewolf story, and we all know that I'm not the biggest werewolf person. This was so much fun. I absolutely loved the way this was written. It felt like a very classic werewolf story. Like, it follows a very familiar storyline that I'm used to with werewolves. There is a romantic subplot in here, which we know I love. I loved it so much. I also enjoyed how gruesome and like gory it is. There is some animal death obviously in this book, but it was very gross. Like, there were some scenes where I was like, oh, okay, awesome. So good. Thank you for that. It just pictures that I didn't need to imagine in my head, but now have to because of this book. But I did enjoy that anyways. The transformation scenes were really cool, really well done, really like intense, and I enjoyed that a lot. The only reason this is not a perfect 5-star, okay? One, I figured out something very early on in the book. I figured out something, I can't tell you what, but I figured out something very early on, and when it was revealed, I was like, I knew it. I knew it. And I was like, I knew it. I knew it. I was kind of gloating that I knew it, but I was also kind of mad that I figured it out. But the other thing is, this doesn't beat Cackle for me. I loved Cackle so much. I loved Cackle so much. If you were like, Erin, a witch story or a werewolf story, I'm gonna pick witch. So that's the only reason this isn't a perfect 5-star, but look, it's probably more of like a 4.8, a 4.9 if we're being honest. Like, it's not that far away from a 5-star. Like, honestly, I probably should have just given it a 5-star because, you know, but I'm trying to be a little harsher with my ratings. Rachel Harrison, her writing is just so immersive, and I just felt myself just like falling back into that same thing with Cackle, where I just immediately got sucked in so quickly. I loved Rory. I loved Rory's story. I just loved everything about Rory. Her story, everything was great. This was a really good one. Okay, it was really, really good. I expected nothing less from Rachel Harrison, but Cackle still reigns supreme. Cackle still reigns supreme. The only 5-star we have, look, I don't know how this became a 5-star, but it did, okay? And that is Small Spaces by Catherine Arden. This is a middle grade horror, and I believe it's also like a 4-book series. I just got the second one, Dead Voices. Wow, I love middle grade horror. I really do. It's actually so creepy and terrifying. This book was so scary. If you don't like creepy scarecrows, okay, if that freaks you out and you want to be scared, this one right here, read it, because I don't like scarecrows, and when I was reading this I was like, why is this so scary? I was like, why am I actually terrified right now? This book is about Ollie and her 2 friends. While they're on a school field trip, there is some bad things going on, and they set out to save their classmates and put a stop to this evil that is afoot. That's the best way I can describe it, because honestly, there's so much going on in this plot that I don't want to give anything away. Wow. I mean, like, I love middle grade horror. This was excellent. This was so scary, so terrifying. I was freaking out. I was like, okay, Erin, get it together. Like, you're 27 years old. Calm down. But like, this actually really did scare me. This really did. Scarecrows, they're scary. What can I say? I didn't like it. I love middle grade because there's always like the main character going through some like, you know, some emotional things, you know, with growing up, but also dealing with things in their personal life, and then they get friends that help them, and they learn like friendship, and it's just so like beautiful and sweet. But then there's like terrifying scarecrows, killer scarecrows. It just had a good balance of like cute and sweet with like absolutely terrifying as well, and I loved it, and I'm going to be continuing on and reading the rest because I just really liked this one. I really did. And that is it. That is my November wrap up. That was a lot of books. I'm telling you, I don't even remember half of them. I think I blocked out like half of November, but now it's December. 2022 is almost over, which is wild, absolutely wild. And yeah, that's I don't even know what to say. The year's almost over. So many things happening. It's a lot. Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite book and least favorite book of November was in the comments. You can tell me if you've read any of these, if you agree with me, disagree. I'd love to know your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. It lets me know that you enjoy wrap-ups. That way I can keep providing you with wrap-ups in the future. If you haven't subscribed yet, you can do so, and we can become friends and talk about books, horrifying books, thrilling books, romance books, manga, all that fun stuff. And with that being said, I hope you are having a great day, night, morning, afternoon, wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!